Okay, let's get it started in here. Aha, something like that. But the Miami Dolphins went ahead and traded Jaylen Waddle, traded him to the Broncos. And where does this leave everything? Now let's just go ahead and just talk about the whole draft thing. I said earlier that I'm not. This doesn't shock me. I am. I was like a little surprised because I just thought they might keep Waddle just to have some type of something with the team and then see like maybe like mid season or something like that if they would try to get rid of him or whatever. But they've been fielding offers even with the last regime, so that's why I said it's not too crazy. But at the same time, I was like when I was talking about everything, I was like, yo, just go scorch earth, just start over. And to be honest, what you sort of got for Waddle, I think that's that's what you sort of wanted. I didn't think that we was going to get a first round pick just because at the time that everything was like, the Dolphins was like, yes, they were like low, but they were still trying to win mid season. I was like, I get it. If you were trying to give them the Buffalo, you needed they would have to fork up a first round pick. But getting a first round pick from the Broncos is a late first round pick. I was like, one, it makes sense for the Broncos and it makes sense for the Dolphins. This is to me a win-win situation for both teams. I get it that it's like one less weapon for the Dolphins to have. Who's in the receiving room at this time? What is this for Malik Willis? But hey, I was like, look, I feel like Malik Willis is fine. Like I think unless he stinks it up, and I think that's past anything that we're like I sort of said in the other video when we signed him. It's like to me, it's really going to be how it just looks, and like you like the coaches are going to know, and you're going to see through tape more so than what in the public we're going to see or when we're evaluating of like who should he have thrown to, what was the actual read, what's happened with the defense. So I was like, to me, that's where they're going to make their decision of like, is he playing like trash or is it just because the team and all this other stuff, lack of weapons and all that jazz. But I will say for Waddle, even though like it shows like I was hearing somebody talking about like he's only missed like 6 games in his career, and I was like, that can't fully be right. But it's really because it seems like he's always getting some knick knack patty wax. Like he always is getting hurt, and even like sometimes I was like, there's been times where I like watch the game and I've seen him get hurt, and then I'm like, oh, I thought he was gone for the whole game, but it's also just because the offense was not doing anything with him either. But yeah, so I was like, I get it for the Dolphins. You get a first, you get a third, and like a swapping of the fourths. And to me, with a team, I was like, I think even in general, once you sort of decided to like do all this dead cap, get rid of the quarterback, you need all the picks you can get. Whether that I was like, regardless of how bad the team's going to be, like the team is going to be bad, but so you need the picks anyway. But I just think that if you're when you're going to try to change the regime so much like this, you just need draft picks because you want to get the young players that can be influenced by what you're doing. So that's a lot better than trying to keep on some better. Like I was like, not what the Steelers are doing. That's probably too much of a bad idea because I was like, they are a team that's. But I was like, what the Jaguars were doing for a while, where it's like they kept a lot of the same. I was like, they only really changed a couple here. Hey, it worked out, but it's 3 coaches later. So I was like, yeah, get all the picks you got. I was like, I've even done like some mock drafts of the Dolphins or whatever, and to be honest, every time I do them, I trade back. I'm trading back all the time because I'm just like I just want to accumulate enough picks to get to field the team because I think that while yes, to having like the top 10, even 15 picks gives you a player of crazy, like crazy high potential. I was like, there's so many. I think a lot. There's a lot of good players, so much that you can get anybody in the rounds. And I'm just like, hey, I'd rather have a lot more shots at the dart. At the board, just throw darts at than like 3 picks in like the top 60 or whatever. But if you give me like 5 picks in the top 100, I think that's a little bit better. Now the Broncos, on the other hand, you know, there's been like the McDuffie trade or the rescinded Crosby trade, whereas like these first round picks being traded for something. I was like, look, it's a 30th pick, and it's like, wow, yes, I would like the Dolphins get another first round pick. It's a low first round pick. So to me, I was like, it's not necessary. Like the benefit to me really isn't. I was like, it's a first round pick because whoever you get and if you hit on them, you get the fifth year. That's really the whole point of the first round. I was like, because by that time at the end, you're really getting somebody who you don't know could be in the second round. I was like, but kind of they was good enough to be in first round, they would have won the first round. Albeit, a wave of running of players at positions or whatever. So to me, I was like, if you whoever you pick there, you get the fifth year on them or whatnot. So who knows at that pick I was like what that could be. I was like, or because I was like, I like they need everything or whatever. So to me, I think I just seen a mock draft, and I was like, Mel, and I was like, or it might have been Jeremiah. Which one of them? I think it was a receiver, and they had an edge rusher for us. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because I was like, I think you're going to have to draft a receiver here in the first round. But that being said, it's the Packers brain trust that came up, and I was like, outside of Golden, they never drafted a receiver in the first round, so they might not. To me, I think there's enough receivers that you could probably get. I'm just saying, to me, that like how it is with running back, that's kind of receiver now. Whereas like I'm like, yo, get some defensive players as well, stock up on that. Like use your two first round picks on defensive player, then you use a couple of them on the offense because you do need line and stuff like that. And I think that is what's going to have to be helpful if you are going to have Malik Willis or at least bridge to a quarterback for next year. Now I was like, as far as Malik Willis, I was like goes on with the weapons and stuff like that. We'll just talk about the receiving room. They signed Jalen Taylor, not Taylor, Jalen Tolbert, from the Cowboys, who I thought was all right when he, not this past year, but I think the previous year where he had to sort of fill in a role where it's like, yeah, he had to be the number one for a while, and I thought he did okay, but obviously he didn't pan out in the way that the Cowboys always find like those weird diamonds in the rough, like a Miles Austin or something like that, or I was like, or Laurent Robinson or whatever. He wasn't like that, but I think he'll be solid. He's not dynamic or nothing like that, so they're going to really have to have like some plays open. And like I said in the previous video with Malik, that it's like you got Tutu there, and I was like, look, he stuck around with the Rams for a long time, and so I was like, he got to be pretty good with something. I was like, and I was like, I've seen some of the people that they're talking about, like Jawan Jennings. And I was like, I don't know if he could be a number one with us. I mean, cause that's what he would be. And I was like if you had Waddle and you brought him in, I'd have been like, cool. Debo, I don't think that works unless you're just trying to find ways of an offense. Then it's like cool. I was like, if you just need some guy to get yards and stuff like that, I don't think that's a bad pickup. Stephon Diggs is not working in this environment here, um, or and whatnot. Um, I was like, I think they'll be able to find some players to you know fill out the roster. Getting closer to the draft, people with their money dropping and stuff like that. Like I will go, I would try to go ahead and get Joku if you. I was like, but he probably gonna want to go somewhere not. You don't want to go from Cleveland to this, um, and whatnot. Uh, I was like, but I wouldn't. I was like, the thing is, you can't also like Jawan Jennings wanting to get paid. You aren't going to be able to get him for any money worth for them. You're probably going to have to rely on some veteran receivers like Tyler Lockett or someone in that nature. Um, that's who you're going. That's who you're going to have to look at. Um, yeah, I was like, now I've thought about this. I've seen other people post it. Do you just go ahead and get rid of H-Han at this point? Me, I was like, I don't think you'll be able to get a first round pick for him, but could you get a second? Now the crazy thing is that I sort of feel like since you won't get a first round pick for him, I'm more inclined to keep him because I think he could be more potent for the offense because he can catch just as well as he can run the ball. And Malik Willis, and it's like that's like you want to have him at least have somebody else when you try to do the RPOs, when you try to do the quarterbacks runs and stuff. You need somebody that's a high threat. Whereas if you get somebody else, I mean, like, yes, there's running back galore and still left in free agency. Cause I mean, that's decent. You get what I'm saying? I was like, in the draft, that is like, yeah, but do you or would you just rather have a known commodity in this sense? I'm like, now during the draft, that's a little different. But I think the most you're going to probably get for the running back is going to be a two. Like if you get a three, you take it all day. But a two, I don't know. I don't know unless it's like a high two, like it's like number four, like the like four. Sure, maybe. But how? But I was like, at that point, you are going to score sort of because he's the last remaining guy worth a damn on the team. To be honest, that's worth trading for. And I think there's a plethora of teams that will be able. Jaguars will be able to take them. Uh, I was like, no. I was like, the Texans feel. I was see. The thing is, and I say that a second round pick that even if you got a running back, unless you have a top running back, like let's take Eagles or something like that, or the Colts, you do that trade. So, like, why not? Like, if for a second round pick, you take that trade. But anyway, I was like, I'm totally fine with this. I was like, I like Waddle. I don't how everybody has talked about him being the number one receiver. I don't see. I see him at the number one. I see him. Yes, he's the number one receiver, but not how people are talking about. Where just like I feel like I'm like, oh man, it's going to just like he was the end out. Like Denver with Cortland Sutton, I like that a lot. Say it would have been Buffalo. I think you're in the same boat with DJ Moore, to be honest. Uh, yeah. So I was like, I think that we got a higher pick than I would have thought. I mean, not the number, but a first round pick. So anyway, I was like, obviously y'all seen it by now, so we all could assume that this is a good deal. So our only question is, where do it go from H-Chan? Let me know what y'all think. Peace. I'm out.